The clock is ticking. 2025 is almost over. But what if I told you there's still 6 months left to transform your mindset, your wallet, and your reality? I've been in that same spot, halfway through the year, feeling lost, without a plan, without direction. So I decided to create a clear roadmap, to level up consistently, without shortcuts, without rushing, but with strategy. I adopted 3 timeless pillars: a strong mindset, financial control, and building a life with purpose. And here's the most important part. I didn't wait until I had already achieved something. I started back then, with little, but with discipline. The result? Real transformation with structured results, no stress. In this video, I'll guide you through 10 essential steps, combining inner shifts with outer action. These are simple rules, but together they empower. And the coolest part? They work no matter where you are in life. No need to start from scratch. If you want to step into 2026 as a stronger, wealthier, and more fulfilled version of yourself, this video is your turning point manual. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what's coming next isn't an empty promise. It's a roadmap designed to change everything by December. 1. I changed the way I think before I changed my bank account, before trying to earn more, before wanting freedom, before making any plans. I had to face a hard truth. My mindset was keeping me stuck. I'd wake up already thinking about what wasn't working, what was hard, what felt unfair. And the more I focused on that, the more scarcity I felt, even when money came in. Even when opportunities showed up, that's when I started training my focus. Literally, every morning I'd write down 3 things I had done for myself in the past few days. Not what I wanted to do, but what I was already doing. That changed everything. Because mindset doesn't shift through motivational reading. It changes through small actions done with intention. I stopped saying I'm trying and started saying I'm doing. And when you act like someone who's decided, the world starts reacting differently. The first step to leveling up isn't opening a spreadsheet. It's deciding you're done feeding the pattern that's draining you. Drop a comment. I train my mind every day. If you've also realized thought comes before freedom. 2. Money started respecting me when I stopped treating it like the enemy. For years, I was ashamed to talk about money, to charge, to ask about prices, to say I can't right now, and that silence cost me a lot. Because when we avoid a topic, it becomes a blind spot, and blind spots lead to collisions. Only when I faced money head-on, with clarity and without drama, did it start showing up more, and with more meaning. First step, track everything, not just income and expenses, but the motives behind my spending. I found that part of my spending was numbing. Other parts were about image, and very little, honestly, was true necessity. Top 1% women don't treat money like taboo. They observe, analyze, adjust, and move on. No fear of seeming harsh, because financial freedom demands firm decisions. Today, I have weekly check-ins with myself to see how my money's behaving. And every time I open my spreadsheet, I think, this is self-love in action. Drop a comment. I manage my money with presence, if you're also ready to ditch guilt and take the reins. 3. The discipline I used to ignore was exactly what I needed. I've always admired disciplined women. But deep down, I believed I wasn't born with that chip. That I was different. That I needed motivation, inspiration, excitement. But everything changed the day I understood. Discipline isn't a personality trait. It's a decision. It's building a routine even when no one's watching. I started small. Woke up at the same time. Did the same task sequence, mindset, finances, daily goals. At first, it felt mechanical, but after a few weeks, it became identity. And over time, I realized the woman I wanted to become was in the actions I repeated, not the ideas I admired. Discipline made me more confident, because knowing you can rely on yourself changes everything. You stop waiting for the world to validate you. You become your own foundation. And with every small plan I carried out, I felt, this is my step. This is how I rise. Drop a comment. Silent discipline is my superpower. If you're also choosing action over anxiety. Chapter 4. I started acting like a wealthy woman, before my bank account reflected it. There was a specific moment when everything shifted inside me. I hadn't achieved even half of what I wanted, but I started thinking, what if I already was the wealthy, disciplined, free woman I admire? How would she act today? That mindset shift changed my energy. I stopped dragging through tasks. I started taking better care of my appearance. I became firmer in my decisions. I spoke more clearly. I negotiated better. And the most curious part? Money started flowing more easily, because I stopped chasing and started standing in the energy of someone who chooses. Here's the truth no one tells you. Posture comes before prosperity. It's not about pretending. It's about becoming who you want to be and acting accordingly. When I started walking with more presence, treating my time with more care, consuming less and building more, the world responded. And everything around me began to level up with me. Drop a comment. I'm already who I want to become, if you understand that wealth starts in your behavior before it hits your account. 5. I stopped asking for permission, and money started noticing me. For a long time, I acted like I was waiting for some invisible approval. Approval to take a stand, to charge more, to dream big, to leave places that no longer served me. It felt like I was just waiting for someone to say, okay, now you're allowed. But that never came, until one day, on a regular morning, I looked at myself in the mirror and thought, if you don't give yourself that permission now, no one else will. But that's when I started speaking more assertively, saying no without over-explaining, negotiating contracts like a grown woman, making decisions based on what I wanted to build, not on what others would approve. And with that, something shifted deeply. Money started flowing more strongly, because I stopped operating from a place of doubt and stepped into the energy of choice. Top 1% women don't walk through the world asking for permission. They know their worth, and they know the only validation that matters comes from their own conscience. Drop a comment. I give myself full permission to grow, if you've also decided to stop shrinking just to fit in. 6. Money started flowing when I stopped living on autopilot. Before, this was my pattern. I'd work a lot, spend mindlessly, save with guilt, and only plan when things got tight. It was like I was driving my life blindfolded. And still, I somehow thought things would just work out. But money doesn't respect randomness. It respects clarity, direction, systems. The turning point was when I sat down with myself and asked, where am I really trying to go with all of this? I made a plan, not some overcomplicated rule-heavy thing, just a simple plan. How much I want to earn, how much I want to save, how much I'm willing to invest in myself, and even more importantly, I decided what I wouldn't do with my money anymore. Because knowing where you're going matters, but so does knowing what you're leaving behind. I started tracking, forecasting, testing, and I realized that financial freedom isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about building a path you recognize and know how to repeat. Drop a comment. My money now has direction. If you're also done relying on luck and started relying on strategy. 7. When I stopped comparing myself, I started growing faster. Comparison was a silent poison in my routine. I used to say I was inspired by other women, but honestly, I was constantly shrinking myself. I'd see someone getting more results and think, she's already made it, I'm behind. Someone with more followers, more clients, prettier outfits, and I'd feel a mix of envy and guilt. That just made me freeze, procrastinate, self-sabotage. Until I realized, every time I looked sideways, I was draining energy from my own building process. I was feeding the illusion of competition, when what I really needed was consistency. I stopped following people who made me anxious. I set goals based on my reality, not someone else's timeline. And slowly, my self-esteem came back. My energy came back. And my productivity skyrocketed. Because here's the truth. No one is your competition when you're committed to your own journey. And you can't speed up your process if you're too busy watching someone else's. Drop a comment. I see myself with more kindness and less pressure. If you're also breaking free from the comparison trap that distracts you from your own success. The elegance I was chasing was hidden in my simplest habits. For a long time, I associated elegance with aesthetics, expensive clothes, flawless makeup, luxury surroundings. But real elegance, the kind that moves, influences, and attracts, isn't about what you wear. It's about how you behave when no one's watching. That's when I started paying attention to my quietest habits, how I organized my routine, how I got out of bed, how I spoke to myself when I messed up, how I treated people who had nothing to offer me. And the more attention I gave to that, the more my behavior aligned with the woman I wanted to be. The kind of elegance that builds wealth is made of conscious decisions, well-placed words, and presence in rooms where you used to shrink. Today, I walk into any room knowing my elegance doesn't rely on labels, status, or validation. It depends on what I choose to cultivate every single day, even in the smallest actions. Drop a comment. My elegance is my silent signature, if you're also refining yourself from the inside out. 9. When I learned to work with focus, not haste, everything sped up. For a long time, I confused movement with progress. There were days I did 1,000 things, replied to everyone, had 15 tabs open, and by the end of the day, I was drained, feeling like nothing moved forward. Then I realized A wealthy woman doesn't work more, she works smarter. That's when I started structuring my days differently, picking just 3 priority tasks, putting my phone away during deep work, protecting my mornings like a sacred contract. I stopped being constantly available to everyone and everything. And ironically, that's when I started producing more with less exhaustion. Because focus is the new luxury. In a world where everyone's distracted, the woman who masters her attention builds wealth faster. Today, if there's one thing I fiercely protect, it's my mental energy. Because I know it's directly tied to my ability to create, lead, and grow. Drop a comment. I work with intention, not desperation. If you've also realized your focused mind is worth more than 10 frantic hours chasing nothing. 10. My growth became inevitable once I started acting every day, even without motivation. If there's one habit that separates dreamers from doers, it's this one. The ability to keep going, even without motivation, without applause, without immediate results. I used to give up at the first frustration. If a post flopped, I got discouraged. If results didn't come fast, I'd change everything. If something went wrong, I'd sabotage myself before anyone else could. But the wealthy woman I wanted to become, she didn't stop at doubt. She moved forward even while afraid. She kept going even when no one was watching. So that's what I started doing. Taking action, no matter how I felt. I made my goals non-negotiable, turned tasks into routine, replaced expectations with consistency. And one day, without even noticing, I was already reaping the rewards. Because there's no magic trick. Silent consistency is the seed of lasting wealth. Today I know my greatest advantage isn't talent. It's that I simply didn't quit. Drop a comment. I take action even without motivation. If you understand that daily discipline is worth more than occasional inspiration. If you made it this far, you already know this isn't about magic formulas. It's about choosing who you want to be, every single morning. I chose, even without structure in the beginning, even with fear, even without support. And it was the sum of simple choices, repeated with intention, that brought me to the point where I can say, I built this life, and so can you. Comment below. Which of these habits are you going to apply today? I read all the comments, and I'll respond to the most powerful ones in the next video. And of course, if this content spoke to you, like and subscribe to the channel, because here we talk about wealth with truth, with clarity, and with action. See you in the next video. You're not late, you just needed this map.